Imagine coming home, and it's completely silent. No little paws tapping on the floor to greet you. No soft fur brushing warmly against your legs at the entrance. No gentle purring from the favorite spot on the couch tonight. Just silence, and this silence feels different from any other. And in that moment, you know, she is gone, your cat. If you know this feeling, then this video is for you. Today we are talking about what happens when a cat dies. What does this loss really do to us, to our hearts and minds? Why does this pain sometimes feel deeper than other losses? Stay until the end. What'll tell you then will surprise you. Today you will understand why your grief is justified and real. And you will see your cat again in a way you don't expect. The moment a cat leaves is usually quiet and gentle. No drama, no big fuss, just a final, soft exhale. But what comes after is anything but calm inside us. It's a storm building up from within, slowly, but unstoppable. This storm has a name that many people don't know: pet grief. Pet grief is just as real as any other form of grief. Just as deep, just as painful, just as valid as losing a person. And yet others often say, "It was just a cat, get over it." Just a cat, as if 14 years of shared life were just something. Today I tell you clearly, your grief is not too big, it is right. Let's talk about the first hours after the farewell, honestly and directly. You know the feeling when time suddenly seems to stand still, don't you? That's exactly how these first hours after losing a cat feel. Most people describe it first as a kind of numbness in the head. Not painful, just empty, like cotton wool muffling everything. That's not a sign of weakness, that's your brain protecting you. In neuropsychology, this is called emotional numbing, a real protective mechanism. Your brain paces the pain, because it would be way too much all at once. It gives you time, it lets the pain come to you in waves. And these waves always come when you least expect them. When you see the food bowl and forget to put it away, wave. When you wait for the soft meow in the evening that just doesn't come, wave. When you reach out for her out of habit and your hand grasps nothing. That's not weakness, that's love that has nowhere to go right now. Here is something that most cat owners have never heard before. What happens in your brain in the first 48 hours is fascinating. Researchers at the University of Vienna have proven this in an important study. When we lose a pet, the brain activates the same circuits as when losing a human. The same cortisol levels, the same stress patterns, your body doesn't distinguish these losses. That means your body mourns your cat just as deeply as a person. That explains why you might feel physically sick these days. Sleep problems, loss of appetite, the feeling that everything is far away and unreal. All of this is real, normal, and has a neurological reason, not drama. Now I want to tell you about a woman. I'll just call her Sabine. Sabine lived with her cat Luna for 16 years, every single day. Luna wasn't a pet in the usual sense. Luna was her morning, her evening. When Luna died, Sabine took 3 days off work due to grief. Her colleagues said, "Just get a new cat, then it will be better." As if grief were something you cure by simply replacing a being. Sabine told me later, "I felt like I had no right to my pain." And that is the cruelest part of pet grief, not the pain itself, but the shame of feeling this pain when others don't acknowledge it. I tell you clearly today, you have every right to this pain, completely. Every tear is justified, every missing is justified, every empty corner is justified. Because you have lost a being that saw you unconditionally every day. A being that was simply there, without questions, without expectations, without judgment. And that is something no other being can replace in the same way. Now comes the part that really amazed me when I first read it. There is a phenomenon that grief researchers call sensory appearances after pet loss. Many people who have lost a cat report the same thing for weeks. They still hear the purring, quiet but distinct, as if she were there. They feel the familiar weight on the blanket, although nothing is there. They briefly see a flicker out of the corner of their eye and turn around reflexively. This is not a sign of craziness. This is your brain at work. For years, your nervous system has built a precise model. Cat lives here. These neural pathways don't just dissolve overnight. Never. They need time, and during this time, the brain keeps them alive. When you hear her steps, it's not imagination, it's love. Have you ever told your cat something you haven't told any human? A secret, a worry, a hope that you barely admitted to yourself? I bet, yes. And you know exactly in which moment that was. Cats don't judge, don't betray, they just listen, fully present. When she is gone, this safe space is also lost, forever. The space where you were allowed to be you, without a mask and without explanation. That is a loss you cannot mourn at a funeral. But it is real, it is deep, and it deserves real mourning from you. Now we talk about something that surprises almost every cat owner after the loss. The guilt, it comes, almost always, to almost everyone. Should I have gone to the vet sooner? This question torments many people. Did I miss the signs? Was she alone and scared at the end? These questions arise because you loved, not because you acted wrong. An animal psychologist told me something I will never forget. Cats have no concept of regret. They live entirely in the present moment. Your cat did not think at the end, why didn't he react sooner? She felt, here is warmth, here I am safe, here is home. That was her last thought, and that can be yours too, peacefully. We are now in the middle of this journey, and he'll share an important study. The Royal Veterinary College in London surveyed over 1,800 cat owners after their loss. The result was clear. 80% described the mourning phase as clinically significant. Real sleep disorders, concentration problems, and physical symptoms, clinically measurable and real. And yet there is hardly any official grief counseling for mourning cat owners in Germany. That has to change, and it starts with us talking openly about it. Grief for a pet does not run in phases like a neat model. It comes in waves, sometimes suddenly and unexpectedly, months later. 3 months later, you accidentally smell cat food in the supermarket and break down. That is not a relapse. That is normal wave-like grief. That is biological. Every wave that comes is proof there was something real between you. Now I want to talk about the soul of the cat, openly and honestly. What do we really believe? What does science say? What does the heart answer? In ancient Egypt, cats were considered a sacred bridge between the living and the dead. In Japan, they believe cats continue to protect the souls of their deceased owners. In Norse mythology, cats accompanied the goddess Freya into the afterlife. These are not fairy tales. These are cultures that felt something deep. The question, does my cat have a soul, cannot be answered scientifically. But the question, did she change my life, that can be answered. With a yes. With a deep, irrevocable, absolute yes, and that counts. Now comes the moment I honestly wanted to prepare you for. The moment when grief slowly begins to transform into something else. Not into forgetting. Forgetting has never been the goal of true love. But into what grief researchers call continuing bonds. Death ends a life, but it does not end the relationship between you. Your cat has shaped a world inside you, of habits, memories, warmth. This inner world continues to exist, even if she is no longer physically there. You don't have to let go, you just learn to carry this love in a new way. Someday you will think of her and smile, without denying the pain. A moment when the memory is greater than the loss, greater than everything. When you say, with gratitude, how lucky I was to have her. That is the journey after the farewell, and you are already in the middle of it. Your cat loved you, completely, unconditionally, every single day of her life. And this gift, this shape in your heart, it stays forever. There are people who say after the loss, I will never have one again. And that is a completely valid, respectable, understandable decision for them. And others feel at some point that their heart has room for a new being. That is also valid. It is not a betrayal of the cat you loved. Love doesn't work like a limited supply that runs out over time. What you felt for her remains, no matter what comes after. Animals teach us, love doesn't need a memory to be real and complete. They loved us before they knew our name, just like that, unconditionally, daily. And when they go, they don't leave an emptiness, they leave a shape. The shape of what they filled in your life and in your heart. And this shape, this very specific, unmistakable shape, stays forever. Tell me in the comments, what do you miss most about your cat today? We read every single comment, because your grief deserves to be heard.